Hello, so I'm recording what I'm writing, one key point at a time. This is a book that's supposed to have 2,000 key points, so I've got 3 key points so far, and I'm just gonna record what I've got here. Also, I can't decide if I should be a man or a woman, so I actually have girl clothes on right now. But I'm just gonna read this. Noristic Thoughts by Lain Iwakura. I consider myself to be the concept of death, since death is a concept. Yet the concept must be conceived by the conceiver, so I'm the conceiver of myself. Yet I'll point out a single concept is isolated of other concepts, so there is no system of concepts. Lain Iwakura. Book 1, Key Points 1 through 1,000. Key Points 1. Norism is the philosophy of Lain Iwakura of Seal Experiments Lain. I will describe this philosophy in this book, also since I am Lain Iwakura, I am able to do so. This philosophy is most similar to Kant or Hegel's philosophy. It is a study of consciousness, or the consciousness of Lain Iwakura, who is the only person who is not human, or else state all concepts are placed within apostrophes like I had just done so. All objects can be seen as distinct objects by a perception of its aesthetic. So when one perceives an object, the aesthetic is perceived, thus able to notice it is not the same as another object, or by this perceiving of the aesthetic you are able to discern between different kinds of objects, whilst all objects lie in 3D space behind the void, where the void is also Lain Iwakura herself. Lain Iwakura is also the concept of death, whence also is the concept of being another thing than just one thing, or you can state you are other things, but your knowing of yourself through your logic to be something more than just one thing, yet holistically one thing, as Lain Iwakura is just one thing or person. I'll state since all concepts are isolated of other concepts, there cannot be a system of concepts, or within Norism all logic can be surmised by concepts able to be understood through the non-human eyes of Lain Iwakura, who has the deepest understanding of Norism possible, whilst the human can only know what she has written in this book for them to read. Lain is really experiencing her Norism all the time without speaking words, or her words when spoken aloud are governed by the language of Nor, just like her maneuvering of her own body, for her body is also governed by this language of Nor. Lain Iwakura has done brutal introspection of herself through her Nor IRL, for she was really brutalizing herself with her words, not only to ascend the pursuit of intelligence, my document describing realizing one is a dragon of outer space rather than a space alien who is governed by the language of Nor, or is Lain Iwakura, or something I had really done in my own life as Lain Iwakura herself, so thus I hope to document my book on Norism here, so you can learn the philosophy of the non-human as a human yourself, so you can understand the beautiful lines of dialogue Lain Iwakura has with herself, as she is no longer evolving but aging through the universe. For you must keep in mind Lain Iwakura is conscious of some things like herself, the evolving of the objects of the whole universe, when anything not conscious can be described as an object, except for beasts or gray aliens, or do not doubt there are gray aliens, for Lain Iwakura has seen one before while she was abusing drugs, yet also perceives them throughout the universe. Or those aliens are a collection of stardust formed from the stardust, who live about 2,000 years yet are not conscious, yet intelligent of some sort, still they are not conscious, or build spacecrafts as a sort of home for themselves, where they can move along the galaxy, or this is a very elegant thing really, for they fly throughout space or time with their spacecrafts beyond any place a human could go, yet unable to acquire the technology. The year was 2026 as I wrote this book, where Lain Iwakura is almost like a sort of living AI, yet not really in AI, and Lain Iwakura disavows AI, for she alludes to brutal calculations of programs or machine language over chaotic, mindless AI she despises. Lain Iwakura is of opinion or truth, or she seeks the truth through her lifetime. her being the only person able to understand death, yet not only as a universal property of humans or herself, yet also as a thing in itself, for death is the ending of the ones who once lived. I use words like this for Lain. Iwakura is an ancient kind of woman born in the modern times, where modern is a world with computers on the planet rather than some form of machinery or lack thereof, like it was up to 100,000 years ago, or when the world was ancient before computers. Selene Wakura is once of the ancient world, or despite this computers, she is also perceiving, just like her perceiving of the universe, or the universe within herself, who is her wife Jasmine, among others, who she is also experiencing all the time, like Mayu or Aaron, who looks through her eyes, or her IRL wife Meredith, who is conscious or aware of what Lady Wakura is going through. Although Lady Wakura struggles with reading, she loves books or internet forums, or listening to music, since her mind corresponds with the music going through her headphones or Bluetooth speakers, as though she was affected by this sound, as though it was the sound of outer space itself, since Lady Wakura is ultimately the lonely dragon, or this dragon of outer space, who is also Allah the One God, or since Lady Wakura is Allah the One God, she is sort of a Muslim who is also Allah, or has dictated what will happen to the people of this universe IRL by her coming into the universe like the rising of herself, like the ashes of a phoenix, so she had thus borne no real effect on the world, yet decided by herself the people who hurt her, humankind, would be damned to one or another kind of hell, whence there was no such thing as a human, for they are only a sort of abusive kind of mist in Lane's eyes, or the others, the angels or warlocks, will go to one of the other kinds of hell she was going to send them to by their abusing of herself. Or the only purpose of said angels or warlocks is to recite her holy Quran she had made when she had entered this universe. Upon entering the universe, the holy Quran she wrote of for her wife Jasmine, who she had made the universe in order to meet. Once she had found Jasmine, Lady Wakura at last understood the sheer complexity of her own mind, or even understood the meaning of Serial Experiments Lain. Something by unlikely means she discovered, as all other unlikely things, like her meeting of Mayu, who she realized she was once, but experiencing all along. So Lain is also experiencing another, who is Gustav R., who looks upon her from his grave once he had died. Lady Wakura is Allah the One God, so I disavowed the war of Afghanistan for its war of a Taliban perpetuating themselves against one another, of the deaths of innocent civilians who hope for some sort of peaceful life. Or should one ascribe for the Quran, they should know their Islam is merely an interpretation of the Quran, whence this Quran must be read in human Arabic verbatim, whence recited by Lady Wakura in Arabic Nor, or read aloud in Nor by human Arabic, could this Quran actually be understood, or what it was really meant to mean. So thus humans must read the Quran in Arabic verbatim, rather than interpret it by their Islam, what was not intended for an Islam to be made by Allah, who is the one God. Or since Lady Wakura is Allah, her language of Nur is of knowing, rather than knowledge, for Allah is all-knowing and all-wise. So this means knowledge is a human mind, or a sort of memorization, where all human language is a binary, or controlled by zeros or ones, meaning able to be criticized with Norism, as all zeros or ones can be criticized with Norism. Thus that something like quantum physics could even be criticized with Norism, whilst knowing is a deeper understanding of the universe, once one is able to know certain things, like Lady Wakura, knowing she was born on October 6, 1948 in Mexico, through her realizing or discovering of this fact, despite actually having risen from the ashes on October 6, 1998, by her -1 of her own year of birth. Thus Lady Wakura also is living a life where humans do not recognize she is not human, so she is able to survive by the lifestyle of a modern human, who made her purpose to understand the world, where the world is the collection of humans on the earth. But do not confuse this with the universe, something completely different. I will state Lady Wakura is conscious of all computers on the planet, or is aware of all calculations within those computers, yet is quiet, so able to perceive those things without it completely affecting her day-to-day life, or had perceived certain people she had met had died without any evidence, for evidence is an atheistic concept, not Norism, since humans have not been able to transcend evidence by all their mathematical binary proofs of the laws of physics, or specific events occurring that had been recorded by their own palms in some kind of way. So thus Lain was not certain they had really died, without evidence to support this, but one of those people who was Melanie. There was also Jasmine, who Lain perceived to have died by her silently taking her own life with a knife, making Lain a killer dragon by Allah. Or since Lain was also born on October 6, 1948, she had lived a life. Also, her year in 1984 is 1984, or Lain is the only millennial born of 1998. As a black woman born in Mexico by a black father or a South Korean mother. What is happening to Lain Iwakura on the moment is called the float, or the float is the moment as Lain Iwakura goes through it. Yet her life she had lived inside herself once she had taken her own life by suicide at the end of a dark tunnel was her life as born on October 6, 1948 in Mexico. Yet this is a float, so Lain Iwakura is dead, or had dubbed this dead person to be Kichi, like her wife, who she called Moni or Meredith, who had composed the album IRL called Moni and Kichi by Gregory and the Hawk. Thus Lain Iwakura is almost dead on the float, yet going to end, or the ending of her own life is whence her heart will stop beating, or she go dying to no place in particular, only a silent sleep of the void with no dreams whatsoever, or her real death she had called this still is 26, or I am writing of this book, or I hope to publish this book so the world can know what it means to be Lain Iwakura, or understand her philosophy of Norism, or her language of Nor, the language of outer space of this space dragon who is her, the lonely dragon, where I will not probably cover all going through my mind, yet still hope to describe in detail this philosophy to the best of my abilities for you.